on 1080 The Fan.
Kenny Albert on the call last night. Game 1 of the Cup Finals, rematch from last year. And it's a doozy. Within the first minute of the game, the Oilers score.
Right out of the gate in front of their home crowd.
The player everybody knows, Leon Draisaitl.
Leon Draisaitl.
Just an absolute unit of a player.
He is a very good hockey player. He is.
Scored at the start of this thing, and then
Yes.
Florida instantly answers twice. They went up 3-1.
They did.
In the second period. Felt like a little uh-oh, but the Oilers probably have the two best players in this series in McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that?
Probably. I mean, Tkachuk is an absolute stud for Florida.
Two
Bennett
best,
nearly
two
had a
best
hat trick.
offensive skilled players.
Yeah, the
Yes.
offensive skill on Edmonton is what has always set them apart, and those two guys lead the charge.
And game goes to overtime. It's almost done in overtime. There's a power play. I didn't know that rule about the whole puck over the wall behind the line.
Yeah, you can't toss it out from your own
Yeah,
defensive
from your
zone,
own defensive zone. If it goes, it's not deflected, doesn't skip off the glass. If it goes straight over the glass.
Yeah, I had no idea. They're blowing a whistle, they're cheering. I'm like, what's happening? And then they're like, it's a power play. And I'm like,
Everybody's
"It's a power
pointing up.
play."
Like, why is
Yeah.
everybody pointing up? Why is everybody pointing
I
up?
had no idea. I thought, they're saying the puck's up in the air. That's all they were doing.
Well, you got to think about it, right? Like if you're under like a heavy storm in your defensive zone, they don't want you just to be able to. I'm going to flip it over the boards and we'll get a face-off here. There's got to be a penalty for
It's the
that.
equivalent of intentional grounding in
Yes.
the NFL.
Yes.
Okay.
If the sack's coming,
And you throw the ball.
you just can't throw it in the dirt to nobody.
It's got to be. You got to throw it to an intended wide receiver.
When you have intentional grounding in the NFL, do they take a guy off the field
No,
to
but
make
they
a
should.
disadvantage?
That would be awesome
would
if they
be
did,
great.
dude. 11 versus 10 for
Now,
a
what-
play.
You
Hold
have
on.
to lose an offense. You only get 4 offensive
gonna say,
linemen on the next play.
What's the position?
Wide receiver screen on one. Right, there you go.
What's the position you have to lose on intentional grounding if you went to hockey?
You lose.
I think you
it's-
should be able to choose. I think you should be able to choose what position you take off the field.
So, like, everybody would just go no running back.
You go no running back.
Yeah, because you just
Yeah.
go shotgun.
Give me 4 wide receivers, 5 offensive linemen.
But you're
going too
blitzing
many.
because there's nobody to pick up the blitz.
That's
Yeah,
true.
You got to get rid of that ball quick.
You're going 2 solid minutes with no running back would be
Well,
tough.
I think you go the next series. So until you get the next first down.
Okay. All right. I like that we're adding intentional grounding.
Caveats to the
There
rule.
you go.
Let's
Hockey
make it a little more
together here.
We
complicated.
need to make more sports like hockey.
Why did we? So, quick question.
Yeah.
Because I have a takeaway from yesterday. Why do they even do a power play clock countdown if it's more than the game clock?
It'll
It
carry
carries
over.
over.
It carries over to
No
the next
kidding.
period.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm learning so much about that
Welcome to the
sport.
wonderful
Blue
world of
line
hockey,
branded.
dude. It's a phenomenal sport.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
it doesn't end at the end of the period. So if there's what was there, a minute 37 or whatever on
Something
the
like
clock,
that.
it always if
Yeah.
you don't score in that minute 37, you got 23
It
seconds to
happened
start
in
the next
regulation.
OT.
At the end of the second to the start
Florida
of the third, I think.
had a power play
Yeah.
and it carried over to the third.
It's like 2009 cell phone minutes. You don't use
Yeah.
them all; they roll right
Rolls
over.
right
Damn
over.
right they do. They're not taking those minutes away. You earn those minutes, buddy.
So here is a takeaway I had, and I know this is not very hockey for you hockey nerds, but I watched this game. It is, by definition, the most perfect sport that you could possibly create for an overtime.
It's not even close. Not even a debate.
Format in sport, it's not close.
No.
Because baseball, I always thought baseball and extra innings, like, look, baseball is baseball, right? But if you're to say what is the most perfect extra anything sport, it wouldn't be baseball because it's like, well, if first team scores, the other team gets a chance to match.
Yes.
Basketball, it's not quite long enough.
No.
It's not a full quarter of the
Soccer
sport.
is
And it's
got-
a slow build
yeah.
to the end of
It
it.
is a
It's
slow
like the first
build.
2-3 minutes are just like a normal quarter of basketball.
Right.
The
Soccer
game couldn't
got,
be over at
Yeah,
any point.
soccer got rid of the golden goal. They used to have it like that, where if you went into overtime, like after 90 minutes, and you were in like a knockout, like the World Cup or something,
Right.
they used to, if you scored in overtime, that was it. And they got rid of that like a decade
That
ago.
should be the way it's done.
Football
That's the way to end it.
Football in college or pros doesn't know what they're doing.
No.
College football is the dumbest overtime rule in existence now, and the NFL is just normal football. There's nothing different about
The
it.
NFL didn't know what they wanted to do for a long time.
You score and then the game's over, but not
Right.
anymore. Now, if you score, the other team can score, but only if it's a field goal. But now, even if it's a touchdown, you can still score if the other team scores.
Even tennis, I've been watching a little Roland Garros.
Ooh, look at you.
The tiebreaker.
Yeah, like, well, I'd even just go to deuce.
Yeah.
Give me a deuce.
Deuce is kind of stupid. Add
Or
What
deuce
does
is
that
wild?
mean? You have to score again.
Why?
But
gotta
I
win
thought
by
I
2.
won deuce.
You got to win by 2.
I
huh?
know. That's why they call it deuce.
You got to deuce it up.
But it's just like, why do you need to do that?
Why didn't you deuce it, man?
You don't hit a shot down the line and they're like, 15, love. But you got to do it again to get 15. It's like they don't even know what.
Now we're back to square
It
one.
really is a perfect sport
Yep.
for overtime.
And they don't take TV commercials in the overtime period.
No, it's just constant. It's
There's
just,
one break
buckle up,
after
buddy.
halfway through the 20 minutes, and they scrape the ice, and that's
Somebody
it.
has a famous tweet that's basically like, you could have a good time by snorting a bunch of cocaine and riding a motorcycle without a helmet, or you could watch overtime hockey. And it feels like the equivalent of that. Like you just sit there, you're on the edge of your seat the entire time. You can't leave the screen, and you never know when it's going to end. You never know when it's. And sometimes you watch an overtime game to that level, and it's the most random bounce, break,
Some
deflection.
quirky-
Like, what?
Yeah.
Don't even see it coming. Like sometimes it kind of sets up. Like last night's goal, the way McDavid set up that play, you're like, ooh, they got a chance here, and then Draisaitl scored it. But a lot of times it's just a random run of the mill. That was a weird bounce, and the game is over. See you later. That's the way it ends.
Yeah, I would say in hockey, I can't describe the feeling, but like even me who doesn't really watch hockey, when McDavid has the puck where he has it, you are kind of like,
and then the game's over.
You can feel kind of that build.
Nobody messes with the Jesus, man.
The other takeaway I had, I'm just kind of stomping all over your hockey segment, so
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Blue line,
okay.
you are Blue Line Brandon.
No, we're welcoming you in.
I mean, I picked
Big
the
Ten.
Panthers to win the series. I picked the Oilers yesterday to win the game.
Look at you.
The goalie that you told me about on the broadcast, the Ranger guy, what's his name?
Henrik
Henrik
Lundqvist?
Lundqvist.
I can't watch that show,
He's too attractive.
dude.
Yeah, he's good looking.
Nobody
You
should be
just-
that good
You
looking.
kind of just stare
Unless
at
you're
him.
in the
He's
movies.
a Swedish stallion, dude.
You just
He's
kind of stare at him
Yeah.
the whole time, and
Yeah.
you're like,
it's intimidating.
what did Gretzky say?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Nothing of note because he never really says anything of note.
He's got amazing hair.
You just stare into his eyes the entire time.
Jawline's perfect.
And then there's Paul Bissonnette with his mustache doing a Barstool podcast, cussing
Yeah.
up a storm, and you're like, this is such a weird day as of people.
Are
They're
you,
all over the
are you
map.
flipping the channel when the wife comes in if it's on Lundqvist? Just flipping it real quick. It's like, don't look at that.
no, that might be a mutual hall pass for
Oh.
both of us.
Whoa, hey.
Come on in, buddy.
Henrik, what's happening, buddy?
I'll sit over there. I'm kind of curious.
You gotta go Jerry Falwell. You want to see what he's got working?
I at this point, I'm going to assume it's a hog. This guy's
What a
blessed.
disappointment to look that way and then not have one. That would be a big bummer.
It'd be
for
like the
him.
buff guy in Grown Ups.
Absolutely.
Super good
I'm from
looking.
Saskatoon. I'm a little ween. Don't pull that. Please don't pull that. Don't do that. You know what I will
Please
say?
pull
I'm going to
it.
give you one hockey note from last night.
Please pull that.
First
please.
off, that was an incredible game.
a
It
great
was
game.
awesome. It looked like the Oilers were dead. They dominated the third. They couldn't do anything offensively in the second period. They dominated, I thought, the third. I thought they dominated the entire overtime. I thought there were so many chances. You're like, how did that? You're just yelling. How does that not go in? Multiple times. Florida kept icing the puck. They couldn't really get it in the offensive zone. The story for them, and it's a guy that we've all made fun of because Blue Line Brandon knows, Stuart Skinner was a problem for them. And he is now riding a bit of a heater in the playoffs.
Good goaltending last night, despite
Dude,
the
it
score.
was
I thought
like
actually.
the first two goals he gave up. The first one, Bennett gets tripped in the crease, and it's just a deflected puck, and you're like, that's a brutal break. The next one I thought was a bad defensive rotation. Marchand was wide open and had an open net. That wasn't really his fault. And then the last one was Sam Bennett making an incredible individual play. None of those are bad goals to give up. He made massive saves in the third period, massive saves in overtime, and then all of a sudden their offense takes over. So that was a big note for me of if he plays that way, they got a great chance to win the series. It's just a question of can he keep it up.
How is Gretzky perceived up north?
I mean, I still think he's the great one, but
He's still the great one.
I
yeah.
think after the 51st state stuff, his political affiliations
kinda weird
maybe
for
rubbed
them?
some people the wrong way. I would imagine
Because he's
You know,
also an Oiler.
a lot of Canadians didn't think that was very funny, and
No.
he's a supporter of that,
Yeah.
and so I imagine there's some conflicting interests there.
Okay. Game 7 overtime with Canada's streak on the line is kind of what we need.
In Edmonton.
Yeah.
Last time we had
we need that.
did Bruins and Canucks go OT in Game 7?
No, the Bruins kicked the crap
They
out
kicked
of
the
them.
crap out of them. That was the last time a Canada team, I believe, hosted a Game 7, though,
Yeah.
right? Because last year, Game 7 was in Florida, and then Vancouver burned their city
Burned
down.
the city down.
So
Yeah.
things will end well. I did chuckle at all the crowd shots of the Oiler fans outside. Not a single one of any sort of watch party for the Panthers. And I know that they don't always do that, but they're like, here's 30,000 people outside of the stadium watching the game, living and dying with every moment, and people are on a beach in South Beach like, oh, our hockey team's playing tonight.
It's a nice little start for your sport.
It was great.
It's a good start.
Stanley Cup Final is going to be awesome.
I hope my sport can live up to that because that's a high bar, man.
We got a Jesus is in our final. You don't have a Jesus in your final.
No.
Maybe you do, but we'll find out.